approval of the minutes. Any changes or amendments?
Nope.
All right, we'll go into our department reports with Mr. Jack Williams.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, we'll get right into it. We've got several things here, so. The first thing we have is the street name change. We talked about this, I think, last month. And I kind of messed it up. I've given the wrong name of what that street actually is. It is Bearden Mill, but I'm gonna turn it over to Attorney Hill because he's got the information you guys might need for that.
So we did postpone this from last month to look into it further because of the ramifications of the Historical Protection Act. What we did find out, and Jack got the minutes from the county, of course, this was presented to us to have, a unified name for the street. But what we found out is the county intends to keep the street name Kid Road on the other side, on the south side of from the south side of the bridge down to Malina Road. So I did want to point that out, but we discussed this in Jack's committee the other day, and the committee members seem to be okay with the proposal to change the name. But the county has already changed the name or given the name of the road from the north side of the bridge to the city limits as Peggy Bevel's Boulevard.
Any discussion? Move this on to the board meeting.
Okay, thank you, John. All right, next is, we're looking at wanting to purchase the rental garbage truck that we've had for a while. I think you guys have gotten some information. I know with my committee, they talked about it. I wasn't here, and then I think in finance, they discussed it. And I think you've been given the information on how we could purchase it. I think it's been discussed that purchase it outright with the fund balance that sanitation has, or versus putting the money back that you guys are going to let us have for a dozer back in toward this purchase. We'll take it. I think this is a good deal for us to have us this second truck. It'll be. The thing is, this truck still has a 1.5-year warranty if we go ahead and purchase it. Basically, it's been new because most of the hours and miles on it has been through the city of Fayetteville. So we know the truck. It's a good truck. I think this will take the weight of working with a sanitation vehicle for the next 4 or 5 years. And we start a rotation after that. But this truck would rotate in with a new one. We know it's a good truck. And they originally, when we talked to them about this, which I think you've seen some numbers, we've invested close to $80,000 in rent on this thing. So he's given that to help us out to purchase. He come with me to $148,000. And I said, well, my board's going to want to negotiate. So we negotiated a little bit. He got down to $145 is what they're offering for us to take it.
Yeah, so in finance, we kind of discussed it, came potentially to some other options, which I think will probably be talked in the finance section. But we looked at the expenditures or revenues over expenditure, and the sanitation fund seems very healthy with revenues over expenditures of upwards of $100K each fiscal year. So it seems like we're in a good position to maybe just outright buy that truck from sanitation funds and still keep your potentially the dozer, which is only 80K from the already budgeted amounts. So they put the numbers in here, but from our discussions, I think it was
Some was gonna have to come from general fund though, when it wasn't all from sanitation.
for the dozer, the
Right.
general fund. Yeah, but the garbage truck would come from sanitation fund. But I think there was a question on if
Did
you wanted
both? I know
both.
Jeff was here and he said, well, I can tell you he's gonna want both. I said, I wanna hear from Jack that he's good with.
We love to have both, because when I originally came to you guys and you let us have the money for the dozer, my discussion was what we're using now to push the brush around in that pile it's a 25-year-old front end loader Komatsu, which the city bought it new. And it's way past where it should have been already replaced, but Thing is, talking to my chief mechanic, parts can't be found for this loader, pretty much. Something goes, a major problem with it, we won't be able to fix it. So it's still running okay, but the thing is with the dozer, it takes the brush pile over, it takes the weight, the pressure off of this front end loader and the backhoe that we use as well. So we strictly use the dozer there, and then it takes, a lot of the work, because these things are worked every day over at the brush pile at the dump. And then that should buy us a couple of years, 2 or 3 years with those two pieces of equipment. We can still use them for what we need to get by with. So that's the reason, still the original reason for the dozer and why we still need it today, yeah.
We were in agreement in finance, that's fine with us. I know we've seen how crucial it is on that backup garbage truck. I mean, we gotta have that, and with the dozer being budgeted, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah.
I agree. Backup, for the backup is shot. I understand that. I think it's a great idea.
All right, thank you guys.
And we're gonna purchase the whole thing from the sanitation
So
center.
we'll move on to option 2.
All right. That was easier than I thought, thank you. So the other thing we have here is let's see, okay, just an update, on the fire, south side. So right now, we have been in contact with the building owners, property owners. They are working on how they're gonna get this done. As far as, I'm gonna let Jill talk for a minute, but as far as on my end, I'm ready to write the demolition permit once they're ready to come, and they should be ready pretty soon, according to her. Now this permit application, what we're gonna do, they have to tell us how they're gonna get it out, how they're gonna handle the asbestos, timeframes, and we're gonna set it. I like to set it, once they fill this out and we award them the demolition permit, we like to set them for 30 days to be totally complete. I think that gives them, we need a week's time for us to get ready to prepare that site for shutdown. And that's fair. I think it's fair enough to give them that 3 weeks to get it done. If you guys agree with that, that's how I'm gonna write this once we get it. But this will define everything they have to do, how it's done, the spray down method, removal, reports on where it's going. They'll have to have an engine or somebody with conservation department will be here watching every load because of asbestos. So it's all a process, but we're ready to write this as soon as they're ready to come in and get it. And they're close. I'll let Jill talk for a minute, but if you got any questions on that part. 30 days, how you guys feel about that?
I'm not crazy about it, but it's,
Well, that's why I want,
later.
if you tell me, but the thing about a demolition permit, a building permit's 180 days, that's just standard. Demolition permits, when we're doing them, we really don't, they're not a set date on any certain demolition permit, it's really just what's being demolished, depending on whatever project. So we can set it at whatever we'd like to, but we can make it a strict, whatever you guys think. I know we need to allow a week buffer once they do get the permit to actually get things, for us to get things set up over here on the square to get everybody ready, prepared. I'm allowing that week, and then they can come in after that, and so it's whatever you guys tell me.
I agree. I'm not crazy about the 30 days because
Okay.
we've been at this for 6 months now.
Yep.
And I think we build in a buffer of 1 week, and we know that they're gonna be running the trucks between 8 and 5, I
Mhm.
believe. It seems like 1 week for them to process that.
They had indicated 3 to 5 days is what it would take to get it out, so if you want to give them 2 weeks, we will. It's whatever you guys feel like. I just want to throw that out there for discussion.
We had that July 14 deadline, and here we are, almost a month later
Right.
past that, and talking about another 3 weeks. I want to speed it up some too.
Okay.
Is any of this pending weather? Will weather hamper them in any
We
kind
would
of
probably
way?
have to put a weather clause in there possibly, but
Yeah, I'm fine with the weather clause, but I think we need to hold to dates and try to speed it up.
2 weeks, 14 days.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Okay. So what I'll do, it'll be from the day they sign this, when I write the permit, when they sign it, they have 2 weeks.
And one of those weeks is going to be getting the word out to the shop owners on that side, so in reality, they'll just have that 1 week left.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard 3 days is on what the cleanup
Yeah,
is, I mean,
they said
so,
about 4 days, and they said they're gonna try to have a line of trucks just constantly going in and out. That's why we chose to just shut that road down,
right.
because we don't want the hecticness of cars maybe pulling in there,
Right.
and trucks being blocked,
Jim, come up so he can.
Yeah.
sorry.
And I'll
Yeah,
also say
one letter
that,
talk, but if you guys have any question about this process, because this is only where I'm involved here, so. But we're ready, everything's ready to go as far as this permit being written. We're clear, we're good with people getting down in the pit now. We feel like it's safe, for somebody to actually be down there doing the work, so. That's all I was concerned about, so.
How long will it take us to do our part? Will it take us 7 days, 5 days to be able to get it ready?
I'm thinking a few days to get notified. Of course, we notify the comm center, police department, they'll need to know we're gonna be shut down, things like that. It's just and then, of course, any of the businesses, but you're only really talking about affecting, you've got Crazy Rays on the corner, the other two are not operating, so it will affect some, but just a few days to get the word out. Because we are gonna, what we decided, and it'll be in the permit, a time frame, operation hours from until, and then we'll stop them. I think we're gonna have to, because it's struck, and we'll shut the whole street down. There's no way they can work in there with trying to have one lane of traffic open, so. And we'll work with them as far as that goes, but that street will have to be shut down for that work period.
yeah, and another angle to that is we don't want the businesses to have 30-day span of uncertainty that they might have to be shut down.
Okay,
So we need, shorten it, make sure it's more certain.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Good. All right, so Jill can give you some information. She's been in touch with the property owners, their lawyers, and the whole mitigation thing they've done, so see where they're at with that.
Okay, so yesterday I sent out an email, I attached a lot of people just to see if I could get a response from anyone. And then toward the end of the day yesterday, John Richardson had contacted John Hill, and then Angela Airy and Brittany contacted me at the end of the day. So this is what they have decided. They did decide on the contractor of Jake Jacobs. He is the contractor. What they're waiting on now is the structural engineer report from Camille Raby, how to take down that wall. He did come on the 30th of July. The report should be ready tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday of next week. As soon as it is handed over to Jake Jacobs, he is going to then adjust the contract to reflect him taking down her wall. And then once all the wordage is correct in the contract, he's going to send it out to every one of them to sign and return back to him. And then that's when he'll come in and fill out the demo application. So we're looking at roughly probably about a week and a half to get all the paperwork correct. And I mean, that's an important part, and I know some people didn't want to maybe feel like we shouldn't be waiting on the structural engineer report, but in the end, it's all going to be cleaned up correctly and safely.
And let them know that you turned in violations yesterday.
Okay, so Teresa Crabtree sent out a violation card yesterday to follow along with our steps, just to keep this process going. It's the first violation card, and on it is just, got the debris cleaned up, 10 days. I don't know if we can hold to that, but we're gonna try. We're gonna just keep it going. It's either gonna be the violation side of it or the actual filling out the demo permit and getting that started. So we've got it on both sides.
And I think we just tell them, hey, if y'all start when you're supposed to do these violations, will not be carried forward. There's no fines or anything if you do what you're supposed to with what we're going on the timeline.
Right. But they did,
We just felt like the violation process needs to be started.
Yeah, I agree.
That's coming out of your budget, baby. Oh, yeah.
I'll have it have any questions so far.
I did talk to, Mr. Eads' attorney late yesterday afternoon. He sent me an email, and when I got to work this morning, I had an email from Ms. Raby's attorney. I do think they're, on the cusp of signing an agreement between the three of them. And, when I was talking to Mr. Eads' attorney yesterday, I suggested that at least try to get in next week and get this process started to get the permit.
And I have asked for a copy of the structural report. We will have it once Jacob does the demo permit. So either or, we're gonna get our hands on it anyway. Either way for him to bring it in, or they're gonna send it to us and let us review it as well. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, is there a chance that the structural report says you can't do this without?
It could, it absolutely could. This is not a 100% that the wall can come down. This is a 50-50 chance of either way, either, it's gonna have to stay up there, or they're gonna tell them a specific way to take it down.
Could we progress without the wall coming down?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's why I say, we're ready to write the permit now. They can get in and start pulling the stuff out right now.
And I put that in the email yesterday, that this wall should not hinder them from doing what they're supposed to do to clean up. It's kind of like she could have done that without, she could have done it later, at a later date. But again, we were trying to be helpful, trying to get it to where it could all get done at once. But again, we'll find out in just a few days what the structural engineer has to say about it.
So Camille will pay the difference of taking the wall
Yes.
down, if they
Okay.
take it down.
Yes.
But she wants everybody to share the love of having to haul that debris off. You're talking about several tons of brick that have to be hauled. So they'll all share that, the weight part,
Yes, because
in
she
the,
put,
in the debris, in the removal, but she'll pay for actually taking it down, if it comes to that.
and the reason why she says she shouldn't pay for any of the debris removal part is because whenever Senior Lopez and Jackie Eads had to take down that parapet wall, that it just got thrown in the pile as well. So it's kind of like if you're doing this, I should be able to do this. So there's some things that had to be worked out with lawyers, and I understand why everybody got the lawyers. But again, it kind of put a hold on some of the time frame that we wanted to get things done.
Can you go ahead and preemptively alert businesses on the south side to know that it's coming?
Oh, I have.
Okay.
I have, yes, they call me pretty regular.
Yeah.
And we talk about it, I was like, I promise, I will tell y'all, we'll give you a heads up. So I have been in contact with them.
Okay.
Because it will, when we go to the barber shop, there's the bookstore, the one restaurant,
Ray's and the attorney
and
and,
then on this side.
And we talked to Roberto
They got
Friday.
Yeah.
We talked to him Friday, so people are being aware.
they're aware that it's coming.
And he was kind of waiting his opening based on the stuff.
Got it. Okay.
Everybody okay with how it's going?
Well,
I mean, please.
It's going,
Okay.
just so it's going.
Yes, it is going, I
I
promise.
gotta give Jill a lot of credit. She just stayed in there and worked with these, she's tried to help negotiate and work everything she could to keep this thing rolling, so. I got one question though, John. So will their lawyers follow this all the way through as far as even dispersing the money to the contract? Is that how that works?
I feel like once they've got a contract signed,
It's in their hands then?
I don't know that it's gonna need involvement with the attorney, but
Okay.
I'm sure they'll be there if there is a problem.
In case, okay. I was just curious. All right, anything else on that? All right, as far as report, just want to report, we are one CDL driver down. We're gonna start, application process has already started, so we'll try to get that filled. The other thing is, give an update on the new truck. I did talk to our guy, Derek, excuse me, at EPG yesterday. I couldn't get through, we were back and forth, and then finally, he texted me and said, the truck's ready. They're trying to set up, they have a delivery company that delivers it. they'll set up the scheduling for that. He said they should be able, the delivery schedule should be set today for a driver. Doesn't mean they'll come today, but they will have a scheduled day for it to come, but it's ready, it's done, and it should be ours just as soon as they can get it here. He texted me this at 11:30 last night, so he knew I was ready for this information. I want to thank Debbie for helping out a little bit there too. She helped put a little pressure. But we should see it in our hands here pretty quick, but it is ready to go.
How was didn't we ask for some,
We did, they refused.
okay, that was worth a try.
Respectfully,
Since it was late and we're having to continue paying, we were asking.
yeah.
Are they driving it down here or are they putting on?
They have a company that, the way he explained it, that actually delivers their vehicles once they're ready, and they'll deliver it to us. And that's what they're doing now. They have to schedule the driver. We could, if they hold us off long, we can go get it ourselves. And if they don't have it here by, say, Monday or so, we'll just go get it. We're ready to get it. I was told it's ready to go. So that's all I got, unless you got anything. All right. Thank y'all.
Please, Chief Jennings.
I think the first thing on the list is, we've been looking at the peddler's permit. And what we did, the reason I went back to revisit it, there was some confusion as how long the permit was for. Some thought it was for 30 days, but it actually is for a year. And the reason we visited is I started getting complaints once we started approving these permits. And one of the complaints was they were selling security cameras and that the police sent them to their house. So my concern with these permits or people going door to door, there's a lot of fraud sometimes involved in this, and we just don't want anybody to be taken advantage of, and we want to try to get a hand on it now. Right now, so I've gotten with Attorney Hill, and I think you may have a copy of the one that we're thinking about. And the reason we came up with this today is to give you all, let you all have a copy of that and see if you wanted to add or detract anything from it. We wanted you all to have a say in how we write this new permit or revise it. We initially thought we wanted to get rid of it or do away with it altogether, but I think there were some issues as far as Attorney Hill had that we were not able to do away with it. So we just thought we'd go back over it again and give you all some input into how it's rewritten.
There does seem to be some speech issues with peddling. So, I mean, I looked at probably 50 different municipality codes after meeting with Chief Jennings, and everybody has peddler permit regulations. Nobody is outright outlawing it. So, but what I did see is, there were cities that had shorter durations than our 1 year. There were cities that imposed a bond requirement in case, somebody that's issued a permit, violates the ordinance in some respect. We would have a bond to cover any fines that they might be imposed on them. Some cities regulate the days of the week and the hours of the day that they can do this. And few cities have a do not solicit list where you can call the city and add your name to the list, and they can, when they issue a permit, there's some way of saying, hey, you can't solicit at these houses. And typically they also, they'll say if there's some kind of posted notice of no solicitation, that it would be a violation to do that. So I kind of cobbled together from several different other cities' ordinances this proposed order, and I just kind of left blank the fee, the duration, if we're gonna have a bond, the amount of the bond, if we're gonna have hours, what hours we would put in, and, you know, I'll put in the language for the do not solicit list. Obviously, it's gonna, you know, create a little bit of work for the city office, I think, but, and the proposed version has language in it that you have to be a resident of the city of Fayetteville to get a permit, so I put that in for discussion's sake, if that's something that's too far, let us know.
Is it violating somebody's rights if we were just to do away with peddling?
Yeah, that's my takeaway from it, Vice Mayor. I mean, that's, you know, that was my initial thought, and I discussed with Kevin and with Chief, and thought, well, you know, maybe we can look at just doing away with it, but I'm not seeing any, I mean, really, I kind of went through pretty much, well, I won't say every, tiny cities I didn't really look at, but anything kind of, you know, 5,000 population up, all the way to Nashville, and looked at, and it seemed like everybody had some kind of regulation for peddlers.
Is there anything on, like an undue burden of a cost that we can put on a max that somebody would make a complaint about their rights?
Well, I mean, we definitely, the screen just went off, so, we're on the low end now. I think it looked like our code, I was told they were charging $5, but it looked like our code says 20. But 50 and 100 seem to be the most common, but I think there was one that was 165 is the highest one
Well,
I
there's
saw.
200.
Oh, is there? Okay. Yeah, there is, yeah. Jackson's 200, so 200 would be the highest I saw. And I do think if you have the bond, that's giving you some protection too.
I would propose 150 for 6 months and a $1,500 bond. Make the hours from 9 to 4, and put a phrase within the ordinance that whenever they come into town to do their soliciting, they let the city office and the police department know what part of town they're gonna be in.
Yeah, I'm for an all of the above.
Me too,
I want it to, like I said, this publicly, I want it to be as hard as possible for them, because the amount of scams that our elderly people are getting hit with is unacceptable.
It is.
And, I mean, I would go as high as we can go on the fee, $200. I would make that permit duration the least we can mount, we can get, like, that's where I'm at. Like, I want it to be as restrictive as possible. And I know that the do not solicit list would be kind of like an unfunded mandate for you guys, but also that's another thing of, if there's a list of these places you can't go, and that list is gonna continue to grow, because once we let people know about that, and we should be letting people know about that, they're gonna put their name on the list, and you're gonna essentially not get to do any of that, so.
And I wouldn't be opposed to making the hours 9 to 3, of course. My reasoning for shortening the hours is the least hours, but
Yeah.
a lot of people are not at home during that time. And then once you get home, you don't wanna be bothered by somebody trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Do we want to limit the days too? Some of them limited the days, Monday through Friday, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't want anybody coming to my house on the weekend doing
No.
stuff.
I don't
I'd say
think
Monday
Monday
through Friday too.
Yeah.
I put my name on the list.
My name's on the list,
Yeah.
but there's also, I think, a caveat in here that it does not include like our school fundraisers, like that, we still allow that. So I just want the public to know that we're not completely,
Right.
like, this is for those,
I mean, if
To
John-
definitely deter the scammers.
yes.
Do y'all want to leave in there that they have to be in from Fayetteville?
I also
I'm
like
okay with
that.
that.
I like that too.
Cause that's a lot of the complaints that
Mhm.
I'm hearing is that they're from Huntsville or from out of town, they're not even from.
North Carolina, yeah.
Okay, so y'all gonna have to tell me what all you want on there.
Was it the $200?
I'm good with that.
$200.
For 6 months.
6 months?
Let's don't do 6 months.
Yeah.
I don't like it, it's too long.
30 days.
Let's make it
30 days.
Half a day.
Half a day.
From
You better be running them streets.
Give them 3 days.
I mean, some of these are 30 days, and I'm
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll do it 30.
30
30
days.
days.
How much was mine?
2 days.
2,500.
Yeah,
That's good
I'm
enough.
good with that.
500, and hours?
9 to 3,
9 to 3,
9
Monday
to
through
3.
Friday.
Monday through
Friday.
Friday.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're gonna do the
And,
list.
Do not solicit lists.
And they have to be from Fayetteville.
Oh,
From Fayetteville.
So my original plan was to bring this to y'all and come up with these ideas and then present it at the next
Oh,
month.
okay.
So it's gonna take a little time to get this
Put it together.
document together, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Add
Now,
these in, it's
That
got
was
one.
Fayetteville say more.
you
I
think
think-
we can get it done?
If we can do it by Tuesday, we're just adding in text, right?
Well, I would in addition, I don't know, I think it's probably more on Johnny writing, doing ordinance, but anybody that's got a permit or comes in to get a permit, they still need to call city office and the police department, let them know what part of town they're gonna be in.
Yeah, what's the permit form look like? Does it tell what they're selling, what the,
It does, and
Well, and the proposed ordinance has a laundry list of things they have to
have to,
disclose. So
yeah.
they may need to look at their permit, their existing permit, and make sure it's, I'm sure it's probably not.
no,
covering
it's not,
everything.
we would have to
They
update it.
have to-
vehicle description?
So we're gonna move that on and get it ready for Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the second page of the legislation, 9204.
So we will move this to Tuesday, you think?
Other police business, the department's doing fine. We did have officer that was involved in the, crash, it was last Friday. It was an injury crash. He did go to the hospital. He is okay and has now since returned to work. At an intersection of Wilson, Parkway and Pulaski Highway. The officer was not at fault. THP worked the crash, so. This vehicle he was in was an extra car, a pool car that we had. It's probably gonna be totaled. Ripped the door off of, the passenger door off the car. So he was T-bone there. He was going west, a big truck was pulling off, Wilson Parkway onto Pulaski Highway and hit him in the rear driver's side door. But he is okay. It could have been much worse, but he is fine. So we will, deal with the insurance and see, we'll probably have to get a new car out of that. That'll be replaced. We're still in the process of hiring. We're one short at this time, in the process of hiring one now. And we have 3 officers that report to Toledo next month, September 27th, to begin their 10-week session up there. We're holding it together and doing fine. Any other questions, please? As far as animal control, the numbers I have at this time through July 19th, I will have the updated numbers next week when we go to the meeting. City answered 10 calls. The county answered, there were 10 calls in the city, 36 in the county, for a total of 46. 9 dogs were brought in from the city, 46 from the county. There was a total of 15 adoptions, 3 were returned from adoptions. 0 euthanized, 9 was reclaimed. We transferred 20 out, 4 of those from the city and 16 from the county. As of July 19th, there was 46 in the shelter. I think we're around 50 today. Our TNR program, 24 cats renewed through that program as of July 17th. We started, we have funded the program again. Put the money in the accounts for the 2 accounts for the ladies to take cats. So they're doing an excellent job, and we're helping with that. We also had an abundance of cat food that was donated to the shelter, and we in turn donated a large portion of that to the Humane Society. So we're good about working together with them and helping them out as well. They're very appreciative. We also got a load of dog food in yesterday, so we're stocked up pretty good now that was donated as well. And that's my report.
Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Fire, Burton? Yeah. Thank you, sir. First up on the agenda is the generator at Station 2. Our last big storm we had a power outage, and our generator fired up like it's supposed to, ran, and then it stopped in the middle of operations. We had some technicians come out and look at it, and they started evaluating our generator. Our generator is over 20 years old, so they're having a hard time finding parts for it, a replacement, and they said, it's beyond its life anyway, and they advised me that it was ready to be replaced. So since then, I've got a quote from that individual, and then I was brought to my attention that Current Electric out of Lacey Springs might be an option for us to work. I called them on a Friday about lunchtime. They told me that they would try to get out by Monday. The sales rep went to the general manager and said, hey, this is emergency services. They came out that day by 3 o'clock. They had a quote in my hands by 4:45. And I talked with the individual, talking about some service plans and, what their company could provide, and I was really impressed with them. And how they said, they do put emergency services as a priority, because that generator not only operates our emergency communications, it operates our doors, and of course it powers our station. So in the event of a storm, and it's in the middle of the night and the power goes out, our fire crews are not alerted that there's an emergency. So this unit has been down for over about a month now. It was hard to get somebody to come out and look at it. I didn't know about Current at the time. So I was talking with my committee and saying, hey, I would like to, move this forward to get it replaced off of, because it's not in our budget. So we'd have to use the remaining funds from general funds. And I got a quote from Current Electric, and they were a little bit, they were a lot higher than the original one. So I went back to the sales rep and I said, look, the city would love to partner with you to try to get our service contracts with citywide, so we can only use one person servicing all our generators, so we have, we don't have a bunch of people have to go to say, hey, what do we need to do for our infrastructure? He said, absolutely, and he pulled it down to about $2,000 from the original quote. And I talked with Mr. Owens, and I told him, I said, I feel like $2,000 is worth the service that we're going to be getting from Current. The other company is from East Tennessee. Nothing wrong with that company. It's just how far they are from us. If we had a failure, we'd have to get into their schedule. That's about a 4-hour drive to us. So I feel like our Current Electric would be our best bet. And that price was at, he got it up to $25,000 flat. The original one from another vendor was right at $23,000. So I would like y'all to take consideration of, passing that and let us get a new generator for Station 2.
Do we currently have a service contract with anybody?
Two different ones. We have Brindley Mountain, and they really don't do generators. They just do it as a kind of a, I wouldn't say a favor, but hey, we're already there servicing your fire trucks. We're gonna go ahead and do your generators while we're at it. And we do use Current Electric for, I think, the public works, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So if we go into a service contract with Current, that's an addition to your budget
Well, it's, no, it's already in the budget
Oh,
for
it is in the
servicing the generators.
Okay.
Yeah, it would just be using one company
I
instead
see,
of
okay.
adding a new.
I think the fire and police both use Brindley, and our building and Public Works use Current Electric. And then Nathan M. they do not have a backup generator.
And I was talking with our fleet, when we was talking in finance, all of the city's generators are probably close to the same age. I know they're all the same brand, and I feel like that was the problem getting parts, was the brand. So this new one is actually, when he got all the specs and sent them to me, it's a 30-year generator, is what they say the lifespan is. And it's a Generac liquid cool, natural gas ran generator.
I'm good with this.
Yep.
The next is my department, I'm sorry. Was you about to say something? The next one is my department
Sorry,
update.
Davey.
That's fine.
Is this coming out of your budget, or is it coming out of general fund? Okay,
Fund balance, I think. is what
fund
it's
balance,
called.
yeah. Okay, I'm good.
And the next thing that come out of finance was, came from Alderman Alder. He also recommended that we pull $150,000 out of the remaining funds to put into a CD for the new purchase of the fire truck. And I agree 100%. We've talked back and forth. I know it's not final. Just if y'all finalize and say we're gonna do it, then we'll try to put a plan together. Last time we talked, we're gonna put that in a 6-month CD, let it mature, pull it out, and put the $500,000 that we have in the CD right now, put them together, and then put them back into another CD to make a little bit of money. And of course, we're still continuing trying to look for alternate funds, trying to get the down payment of the fire truck when it is delivered. So it try not to be such a burden on the city on the payments.
Yep.
The next thing is we're finished up our promotion interviews. Oh, wait, you want to do that?
Sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
I was
it's
just
not
gonna
in-
let y'all know that we don't have we are getting, quotes for the CD interest, but we don't have them all.
The deadline was Tuesday.
Okay.
We did have two and a third kind of possibility, so I do have that in my report.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
we did.
So we'll move that on.
It is in his,
That'll be part of my
Oh,
yeah.
finance report now.
Good deal.
We just finished up our promotion interviews. We have selected 2 for lieutenant. They'll be moving forward. Effective date will be Saturday on the promotions. Today, we should finish up our round 1 of our new hire. We've had some good candidates, and we had a great application pool. We had over 25 applicants that come in. Everybody that we interviewed this whole week has had some kind of experience. Not gonna say certified, but they've had some kind of either medical experience or volunteer fire experience. They're not fresh off the street. We were very blessed to see the applications that the city received. So hopefully, unfortunately, I go on vacation, unfortunately, tomorrow, but after I get back from vacation, me and the deputy chief will sit down and we'll make a selection of that and offer a job to an individual, hopefully. Our apparatuses right now are running well. That's another blessing. Everything is moving well. We've got some students in classes. We just finished up a PDO class at TFACA, and we are starting our aggressive plan for ADO for our new fire truck. Even though we already have an aerial, the new one is a little bit more advanced, so we are starting to send all our engineers and officers to the classing so they can be certified to operate that apparatus. And if y'all have any questions, that is my report.
Any questions? I do have one.
Yes, sir.
Do you have money in your budget for?
Oh, that's one last thing, I'm gonna have to add a little bit more
Yep.
from the, remaining fund balance. Replace some chairs. That'll be in the finance.
We'll move on to Parks and Rec. Mr. Brown?
Good morning. First on my agenda is a program that looking to start. We named it Partners in Parks, hoping to get our community involved in the thing we care most about, our parks, our citizens, and our kids. You should have it on your iPads, kind of the idea. It's kind of, I guess you'd say at the ground floor level, but we're looking to, if there's any suggestions or improvements that need to be made to it, we'd be glad to look at those. But we, as a department, would love to be able to get our community more involved in what we're trying to do for our city. And I welcome any questions over that, or if you need time to look it over, email me, let me know, and I'll be glad to answer any questions on that.
I think this is great. Public-private partnerships is how we're gonna be able to do this. So I appreciate the work you put into this.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Will there be regular meetings of anybody that, that wants to join this group? Like, so they can discuss what needs to be done, what needs to be paid for, et cetera?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
My plan is, once we make contact, love to sit down one-on-one with the businesses or individuals or civic groups, whoever, and be able to just brainstorm. And if they have a great idea, of course, I'd like to bring it for the board, just for your input or approval, and kind of go from there, step by step.
Okay.
I have a question for Attorney Hill. By us taking the private donations, does it need to come before the board before we accept anything? Or can Nathan do that?
I don't think so. I guess if Director Browning has some particular concern about the source of something, he can certainly let me know, and we can look into it.
The reason I ask, and I realize he's not a 501c3, but the Friends of the Sheriff in the past, that's how we accepted private donations for equipment. All it was more probably just letting the county commission know that we were accepting and getting these donations from this organization for equipment, or the equipment, because they actually bought the equipment and donated it, so.
And we could look into maybe setting up a Friends Parks.
Well,
I know the police department has something like that, so, we could certainly have some discussion about that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was needed. If it's not, I'm good with it.
I'm gonna say it depends on the nature of what they're willing to give. Nathan and I met with one organization, the Lions Club earlier, that wanted to do some investment in, one of the parks. And since that was gonna be capital in nature, I think they would probably do need to have some type of agreement, some things that they would hold board insight. They were gonna come in, and I think we're still talking with them at a later time, but they wanted to come in and do some stuff, and because of their investment, I think it need to kind of at least get your overview.
Yeah, there may be a scenario where, the civic club wants to, basically have an agreement of how their funds are gonna be used or something like that, that might require board approval.
And it may be as much as, we may have, business A or B want to donate just money for us at our discretion, which, we would be more than happy to entertain that as well. So it's kind of open. I think if anyone has a specific desire to use their funds for something, I think we may be more appropriate to bring it before the board. Just, number one, for information, and two, if you have any questions, we can address it and then have enough time to make proper adjustments if we need to.
I think it's a great program.
Any more questions over that? Okay. Our pool was probably I think this is my third pool season. It is, I would say, probably the best we've had this past summer. Special thanks to Bridget Smith and Patrick Wright as our pool managers this year. They did a tremendous job. I think I had to make one visit down there for one small issue, and the rest of the time it was great. Our lifeguards were amazing, did a tremendous job, so very fortunate to have those folks. Our concession stand workers, just as well, did a great job this season. We had bingo this past Monday, and we're very fortunate to have Brian and Tracy from the morning show from YTM. They came out. We had a tremendous crowd, and they are very excited to get involved in our bingo program. And reaching out to sponsors, and they've already, she sent me a text yesterday, said, hope it's okay for me to start reaching out to people to help sponsor this wonderful event. So they're already on top of it, and I think somehow this Partners in Parks has already started with the bingo, so very, very fortunate for that. And finally, just want to talk about our crew at the rec center. They're working extremely hard to get the grass cut, the weed eating, looking at small detail. They're taking more of an initiative to pay attention to detail. So we're so happy to do that. We're in a groove right now, and the rain has kind of subsided from us, so we're able to get caught up, and the guys are really doing a good job. So we are already starting for planning for our Monster Mash Bash and Christmas as of Monday. So that is next on our agenda. And if there's no questions, that is my report.
Give us a plug on our fall ball.
Fall ball, well, baseball is probably gonna be a no-go. Softball, still waiting to get interest from coaches. Not sure if we're gonna have the interest. I know fall's a busy year with football and other bigger leagues that folks are doing right now. So softball would be our only hope. And I'm not sure about that, but I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
I've seen it advertised yesterday.
Well, I had spoken with the adult league, and we had a great summer season. I mean, tremendous summer season. And it was so good that they're looking to possibly, last I talked to Holly, was to possibly get a winter league. And if they do, that'll be great. You know, we'll be glad to take that on. Ray does a wonderful job with the lining, and we're still renting out Don Davidson Fields just about every Friday night. USSSA is bringing in two large tournaments over September and October, 2-day tournament. So hopefully get those folks housed up and
Appreciate y'all, your crew.
thank you. Definitely a group effort. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Planning and code, Ms. Gentry.
Good morning, Board and Vice Mayor. Item 1 on the agenda is to call for the public hearing for the C2 zoning district update. This was the item that we had originally brought last month. There were some recommended changes, so it had to go back to the Planning Commission, and they did approve those changes and send it back up to call for the public hearing. The attachment on your iPads in blue are the changes that were made different than what you've seen last month. We added in co-working spaces, indoor, outdoor, commercial amusement parks and inflatable rentals, and then under special exceptions, event centers, low-impact artisanal production to include coffee roasting, microbreweries, and microdistilleries. And those special exceptions mirror what is also permitted in C1. So if you approve these changes, the only action item this month would be to call for the public hearing.
Everybody good? Move that on.
Okay. And then on items 2 and 3, this came out of committee, and I would like to turn it over to Attorney Hill. He's got some information on the demolition processes and then the property maintenance hearing.
So I've been asked to kind of go through the demolition process. So we do have a slum clearance ordinance in the city of Fayetteville. It basically tracks the state laws on this. So really, it's kind of the state laws I usually work off of when we're working on this. So, you know, obviously the first thing you have to do in this situation is identify the owner of the property, which sounds straightforward, but that's oftentimes one of the most difficult things, because what we run into so often is properties where the last person to have a deed to it is deceased, and oftentimes long deceased, and maybe children are deceased, and maybe sometimes even grandchildren are deceased. So a lot of times it's a job just to try to determine who has a private interest in a particular piece of property, and sometimes that may result in 20 or more people having interest in property. And I'll say I run into this with my delinquent tax work as well, and it's the same phenomenon there. So, you know, that is kind of job number one. I'll often get contact from the code's office to, hey, they've got a particular piece of property, can I try to determine who has an interest in it and who they might be able to contact. So we do need to, you know, to do it, potentially do a demolition, we obviously have to provide notice to the owners. And so we can do that by either personal service, registered mail, or mail service, which we typically do mail because a lot of times we have out-of-town owners, so we would really be able to use the police department to deliver those. Of course, the mail can present its own problems. It's not always the most reliable way of getting things done right now, and you know, somebody has to sign for something. You know, it's not uncommon for those to go uncollected. There is a process in the state statute to get property boarded up pretty quickly. You know, once you start that process, if we are interested in having a piece of property potentially demolished, I mean, we've got to give notice that we're going to have a hearing. We typically, when we send those out by mail, we'll set a hearing about 30 days out just to give us time to have get that notice out and record back showing that we have service. And I will say we typically do these maybe 4 at a time. Just, I mean, it's more efficient for the staff to kind of look these together, and we'll typically then set them on one day and just kind of block out hearings on those. So, you know, once 30 days runs, we have a hearing. Typically, people appear. I mean, it's not been I can't think of a case we've ever had where somebody just didn't show up. Maybe we have, but typically people show up, and it seems like when we're bringing in a particular property owner for the first time, we often get resistance from them to say, oh, you know, give me an opportunity to make some repairs to the properties. And in the past, you know, we've tried to work with owners to do that, and certainly point to cases where, you know, there have been improvements made that we kind of backed off on demolition. But, you know, a lot of times when we give them time, you know, 6 months later, really not much improvement, and we'll try to bring them back again at that point. Usually by that time, they're kind of ready to give in and agree to a demolition. A lot of times, you know, they'll do the demolition themselves, so we're not having to use the city funds, and we can certainly point to a lot of properties where the houses were ultimately demolished after we kind of started the process, and we didn't have to use the city funds to do it. And one particular property right now, I think we did demolish a house, and I think they're building a quadplex on it, or a duplex. Okay. Larger lot. But in the hearing, the building inspector, Jill now, is the functional equivalent of a judge. So she would make the determination of whether the house, whether the value of the house and the cost of the repairs, whether it's reasonable to allow somebody to make the repairs, or the cost would be so great relative to the value of the house that demolition is appropriate. So if there is a determination of demolition, I do an order. We serve the order on the property owner. At that point, they've got 60 days in which to file something in Chancery Court, seeking to enjoin us from carrying out the order. So I would think, you know, typically the way to handle that would be to say, okay, you know, we're going to give you 60 days to demolish the structure, and if you don't, you know, we're going to come in and demolish it at that point. Obviously, if there is a filing in Chancery Court, we're gonna have to deal with that. We've never had that on my time here, but, and there's, you know, always a potential that a Chancery Court ruling could be appealed, so, fortunately, we've not had that, so far. When the city does, embark on doing the demolition because the property owner failed to do so, we have to solicit bids, from contractors to perform the work. Typically engage the low bidder to do the work. And then once the work's done, the city's paid for that, then I usually prepare a lien and file a lien, in the register of deeds office on the property. And, you know, we've done that a few times and collected, you know, at least part of our money back. We've also had situations where, you know, the property owner just said, you know, once we start the process, well, I'll just give you this piece of property, because I can't afford to tear the property down myself. You know, they recognize on the front end that it needs to be torn down, but they can't afford to do it. So, you know, kind of back to a situation where we have multiple owners. I mean, I've had a communication with a person last week from out of state, that you know, is having maintenance issues on their property, and this person is the only surviving child of the last person to have a deed, but, you know, it's another one of these situations where there are a whole lot of relatives that have an interest in it, and this person was, you know, kind of relaying to me that they lived on a fixed income, and they were already single-handedly paying the property taxes on the properties, and just, you know, because this person wasn't able to, you know, treat this as their sole property and potentially sell it or anything, you know, the person was asking, you know, whether they could even justify spending money to maintain the, you know, have it mowed, since the person lives out of the state. So kind of have that situation a lot of times. You have a house that's probably uninhabitable, got a lot of owners, a lot of people with an ownership interest. Nobody's really able to do anything to kind of sell the house, and so they don't really want to, you know, they're reluctant to spend a lot of money on it. Maybe the property taxes are relatively low because of the state of it, so maybe somebody's paying the property taxes on it. But when it comes, you know, it seems like when we've done demolition, you know, it's usually roughly a 10,000 plus cost. So, you know, that's something that, and a lot of times it's hard to get somebody to bear that cost. But really, kind of from start to finish, it's about a 120-day process. Assuming that it doesn't go into Chancery Court and potentially even on to the appellate courts from there. So we have had some discussions over the last month or two about doing another round of these. There's one particular property that we want to include, that we're trying to locate two of the heirs that have an ownership interest in that, and we've had difficulty and done a lot of work to do that. The state statute does allow publication in the Elk Valley Times for notice. We haven't done that in the past, and I kind of want to do that as a last resort, but in this particular case, I mean, that's probably something we need to look at doing, because I think we've probably exhausted everything we can do to do that. But I definitely want to do actual notice when we can, so that, you know, we don't have somebody suing us on the back end saying that, you know, you could have found me and now you torn the house down and you didn't give me notice of it. So people do have due process rights in that situation. So, you know, we need to do everything we can to try to locate these people before we actually tear a house down. So that's basically the process. Any questions about the process?
So when we say we go in and we have the authority to go tear down the house, we put a lien on the property, And so are we getting paid back for what the cost of the demolition is? And attorney fees? Or what's the lien? And how beneficial, like, have we been successful in getting that money back?
So, we've never asserted attorney fees. I've never charged anybody an attorney fee for my role in that, and there's never been another attorney involved in it. So, I mean, it's just not, as far as that question, that part of the question. So, and I don't think the statute, I think it just allows you to collect the demolition costs. So, and I will say, you know, it's also not uncommon for, you know, these dilapidated properties to also kind of be on my delinquent tax list, because somebody's not keeping up the maintenance, and, you know, oftentimes they're not paying taxes on the property either. So we've had cases in the past where, you know, maybe the tax sale was, you know, 90 days off or something, and that, you know, they'll bring me a particular house, and I'll say, well, let's just see if we can't get this sold at the tax sale, and you know, solve the problem that way. And we had one particular owner a few years ago that I know caused a lot of issues, and she lived out of state. We had issues trying to get service on her, and ultimately her properties were sold in the tax sale. So that got those properties back moving forward. So once we have that lien, Alderman, we can. It's almost like a super lien, because it's a typical lien is just filed, and you know, it doesn't necessarily mean they're paying it. They just got a lien if they ever try to sell their house, sell the property. But with this demolition lien, by statute, we can treat this the same as property taxes. So essentially, we can not accept property taxes until that's paid. So that really has some teeth to that. So yeah, we have used that in the past successfully. Unfortunately, I don't think we've gotten to the point. We tore down a couple of houses, I think a year ago, that they were both also in the tax, ultimately sold in the next tax sale, and we basically got our money, or got money back through the tax sale that way after payment of property taxes to the city and the county. So that's you know, again, that lien has some teeth to it, and as I said, you know, in the past, I mean, we've collectively, you know, we've given property owners an opportunity to make repairs to their property when they, you know, they initially come in and say, you know, give me a chance to do that. So, and if the board wants us to be more aggressive about, you know, not giving those opportunities, I mean, we can probably do that.
So, like from the statute, we have so say that there's a condemnation determined, and they have 30 days to fight the condemnation, or they have 30 days to repair. I don't get the 30 days thing. Like, what are we waiting on?
Okay, so I'm saying usually when we send out the notices, we try to set a hearing 30 days out, just to give us time to get the notice before hearing. I mean, I hate to have somebody get a notice the day before hearing, or even after a hearing. So obviously we wouldn't go forward if we didn't have service on it. But I'm saying at that point, you know, once there's an order entered saying, you know, you have to demolish this house, they have a 60-day period that they can file something in Chancery Court. So I do think it would probably be unwise for us to try to go in during that period and tear down the house, because the Chancery Court could come in behind us and say, you know, we did something wrong, or didn't have appropriate to at least, wait out that 60 days. And at that point, we could move forward with locating a contractor and having the house demolished. But we definitely had situations in the past where property owners say, I'm not going to oppose having the house demolished, but I can't pay for it. So you just move forward with tearing it down and you place a lien on the property. I know Campbell Street, we've done that a lot. We got a number of houses on Campbell Street. Kind of in that situation, Kiwanis.
So, I mean, it sounds like the process after condemnation is kind of straightforward, not a lot of wiggle room there. So are you saying that I guess, what's up to planning and codes is if we go cite an unfit house, there's leadway into if we're saying, okay, you have so many days to go fix it? Is that where
that's what we've done in the past, because maybe there's a degree of subjectivity with saying, okay, we think that the cost of repairing that house relative to the value of the house is, so much, and, the property owner may say, they often come in and say, no, we don't think it's 50%. So, and, what we've done in the past, we meet with them, if they kind of have a realistic plan for making repairs to the house, we typically said, okay, we'll give, a time period to allow you to do that, and, we basically have to start the notice process all over again if they don't, if they don't satisfy us. So, in this particular property that we're trying to locate people in, they have been in before, and we've actually learned there's an error that we didn't even know about the last time. So we've had an error that didn't even get noticed the last time we had them in, wasn't participating in that. So,
but it's not subjective to condemn the house. There's actual things that have to be wrong with the house for you to condemn it. So,
And that's
like,
determined by the building inspectors. Jack and Jill actually are the ones who determine if the house is condemnable.
okay, but you're following a set of guidelines, right, that are statutory or that's set by the city?
the state statute, has a, it's got language in it about, uninhabitable or
Right.
fire, I can read those to you, but it's basically common sense things that, if it's a fire hazard or a safety hazard.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
Yeah, so I think, so the calls that, of course, people are like, why is this house, it's never been fixed and there's broken windows, and I think people think that if there's a broken window, it's grounds for condemnation, but it does not sound like that is, it's up to building inspector for determination?
It is, based on, they would look at the codes and to see if it's a habitable, safe structure. But just broken windows or loose siding, those types of cosmetic things that could be repaired doesn't mean that it's condemnable. If the roof's falling in, we've got a couple that, an addition was put on and it's, caved in, fallen off. Those types of things structurally, when they look and see that nobody could live in this house in this condition, that's when we would then do the condemnation placard.
Okay. I think I looked through the property maintenance log, and I think there's like 7 unfit houses on the list right now. Has the process started on those? Like, I guess once we notice that something is wrong, when there's like policing of it, but.
Another thing that Attorney Hill mentioned, we usually bring them in groups because we just have a certain pot of demolition money.
Yeah.
So we can't, bring in 10 at a time knowing that we couldn't, if it fell on the city, wouldn't have the funds to complete all those. So that's why we usually stagger them in groups. If we have a win, then we add another one to it, so that we are not just going after so many at one time, because then it's on the city to actually follow through. If we, we're ordered to tear all of those down, we need to know that we have the funds to do that.
But the funds are reimbursable. They're reimbursed.
Yes.
And it's my goal ultimately for the city not to be on the hook or completely on the hook.
Right.
We've had
Like, really, we
some-
just want compliant, we want them to,
We've had some significant building removals that, we went into them knowing that we were going to be at least partially on the hook for them. But, I know they appreciate having funds to work from, but it's always my goal is to, I'd rather see the property owner pay for it on the front end, and at least that can't be the case to try to collect it with the lien process.
And also another thing to add on, if they come in and say, well, I want to remodel or repair this, if it's more than 50% of the value, then it would have to be brought up to full code, all the way up to the current, like now we're on the 2024 code. And a lot of times that's not feasible, to do that kind of full remodel also. So that's also part of our code.
okay.
I do think I think we've kind of been held up on having our latest round because of one particular property, and like I said, we've never used a publication before, but I think basically Jill has to sign an affidavit to trigger that, and I think we can meet the statutory requirements for the affidavit, and I don't want to use that method too often, but I think we can, and that, we can probably move forward with another round.
Okay, yeah, understand. It's just, I think it's continually something that I hear from citizens is it seems more houses become dilapidated and just sit there. And, of course, we don't want people trying to move into the community and they see this and somebody that wants to come invest in the community and they just see dilapidated houses. So I appreciate the work that's going into it. I think for the public, they just need to understand that this is the process that's happening. It is being worked. But I think there's time that it takes. I just think there's some houses that seem to have been sitting and have been a continuous problem for certain communities that have been bringing down the look and feel of certain areas of the town.
And there was, the one at the corner, kind of right by FPU, that was torn down within the last year and a half. We had to wait, there were several heirs on that property, but then also we were waiting for it to go through the tax sale process. So, like, we knew that was an eyesore right there, a heavily traveled area, but it took us extra time just because of all of the red tape with how many heirs there were, and just getting notification and then all in agreement. And like I said, that one ended up going to tax sale. So sometimes some of the worst ones are just held up because of how many people have some type of ownership in it, and just getting notification and working through Attorney Guild to even get it to the hearing process. When we first started, when Jill first arrived to us, we had a very good first probably 2 years where we had some easy wins, and then now there's several that we've been working on, but it's very slow go because of all the red tape, just with the holdup of how many people have interest in them.
Yeah, okay.
And like, as I said, I mean, I have the same situation with the delinquent taxes. I have learned in this process, how common a scenario it is for, you have parents who own the house and children that move to Chicago or move to California. I've dealt with people in California, dealt with people in Chicago, Cleveland, And it just, it's complicated, it's harder to find, when somebody that's moved to Chicago has died, I mean, it's harder for me to figure out who their heirs. I mean, if it's somebody that's lived here the whole time, I can usually track down who the grandchildren are, great-grandchildren sometimes. But, when you get into these situations where, 2 or 3 children moved away, it would be harder to figure out, if, are they still living? If they're not, who are their heirs? And if it's local people, I can go to the courthouse and say, hey, was an estate ever open for this person? If not, I can search obituaries, things like that, to try to figure out who their children are, grandchildren are. But once we get kind of, when hey, Chicago's the worst, I mean, it seems like if I ever find somebody that's moved to Chicago, trying to find them, are they still alive, who are their children, difficult, so.
Okay, and then the property maintenance side of this. So it seems like we have continuously had people that we're trying to hold accountable for property maintenance violations that just simply won't comply. What's our course of action?
So, and I guess that just kind of moves to the second thing that I was asked to speak about. I mean, we have been, I guess we've kind of upped the number of cases that we've been taking to municipal court, from what, historically I've seen over my 15 years here. We have a lot of success with that, I think. The court will typically, the first time somebody is before the court will typically, allow them some period to rectify whatever the problem is, and that, that works a lot of times. There have been instances that I'm aware of where maybe the court brought them back and said, I'm not satisfied, so I'm going to start fining you, and we've collected fines on those situations and got the problem. So those, that's a win. But I know one particular case that we have right now where the property owner is just refusing to do anything and hasn't been paying the fine that's been imposed by the court, which is up to like $5,000 right now. So we have, I've had some discussion with administration about it's less clean out of that court as far as collection goes. I mean, if you've got a clean judgment to say, okay, the city has a judgment against this person for $5,000, I can use that. When it's just, okay, we're going to fine you $50 a day until you fix this problem, it's less of a clean judgment to use to, for collection purposes. But, if the person is working and we know where the person's working, I mean, we could certainly look at garnishing wages over something like that. And we could, in my private practice, I sold a piece of property about a year ago. So I mean, that's if they have unencumbered realty, I mean, we could potentially even try to execute on realty. But I reached out to the MTAS attorney just to see if he knew of other towns having success with things that we hadn't tried, and he pointed out to me that there's just been a new piece of legislation passed by the state in the last General Assembly session that specifically addresses this. With that system, you go to the municipal court. If the judge finds there's a violation, we can now, by state law, go in and clean the problem up, fix the problem, whatever. I mean, this is going to be property maintenance. It's not going to be demolition.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't apply to demolition, but a dirty lot or something, we could clean it up, and then we can put a lien in for reasonable cost. It's not that super lien that we talked about earlier. It's just a regular lien, but
It just goes to the bottom of the lien list.
this goes, priority wise, it's going to be behind any existing liens. So, but, we're
1618-313. I think it was just, when I was.
Yes.
They, so the way I understand it, the city would go in and clean it up, and then we would bill them for what the cost of it would be.
I know we can put a lien on it, whether we have to send them a bill
Oh,
for it
okay.
first, that's just kind of a ministerial issue, we could sort that out, but,
So I know that in committee, there's the one where she just won't pay. And so there is an option, is that, I don't know if that's under this new state law, that we could garnish wages or go beyond.
So I've researched collection for municipal courts, and you can do garnishment out of municipal court, and that's something we've not done before, and obviously that depends on somebody having a job. So I don't know the details about this particular person, but that's something we can certainly look into as well, but.
Yeah, I don't mean to call out a single person. It seems as if things are like slow rolling, and property maintenance, even though we keep citing people, doesn't seem to have enough teeth there for them to actually go clean up. And that's that's the last thing we want. Is the same thing with condemnations and dilapidated housing, is we don't want all these properties that have been either amassing junk or won't clean up their properties to continue to allow that. And I feel like we've had this issue for a while, and every time it comes up, or people will bring it up, that why are the city allowing this to happen? And it looks like maybe there's new state law that will allow us to be a little bit more.
Like I said, we haven't used that before, but I'd say going forward, we'll definitely look at. It's going to probably make it harder to collect that money. It's not going to make it a sure thing that we're going to collect that money, so that's kind of the downside of that law. A typical lien runs out over a period of time, so if somebody just doesn't sell their property in the next 10 years, we may just never collect that money, but at least, we've been hesitant just to barge into somebody's property in the past and clean something up. I know with the grass and situation, there's state laws that that regulate that are so cumbersome that you basically have to, you give them a quote of what you're going to charge them if you have to do it yourself, and you have to give them so much time, and by the time that process works it out, the grass is 2 feet tall. So this new statute that you were referencing, that I was talking about, doesn't have these, hey, we got to give them 30 days before we can go in. Once that judge, say that it does 30 days, but it's just 30 days. So once the judge makes a determination that there's a violation, they got 30 days to correct it. If they don't, we can immediately go in at that point.
Okay.
So
Is there a such thing as a civil contempt by not doing what the judge ordered in this particular?
As far as not paying the fine, I'll look into that, Vice Mayor. I'm not aware that there is, but I'll look into that.
I didn't know. And that don't necessarily mean you're gonna get your money, but they can be held in contempt.
Yeah. Well, and just from my private practice, I can tell you, just because a court orders something to be paid doesn't mean it gets paid. And so don't think, we can go across the street and find all kinds of orders of things to be paid that were never paid. When it's a criminal court doing that, the criminal court has the teeth of being able to bring somebody back into criminal court. You just don't have typically, we settle a case, we put down an order that says we filed this lawsuit, we had to pay the filing fee to file it. We'll put down an order that says the other party has to pay the court costs. When they do that, we get our filing fee back. We almost never get our filing fee back because they just don't do it, and the clerks they don't do anything to enforce that. So, it's just not, it's hard in civil setting to get those payments made sometimes. And that's, unfortunately, that's the municipal court here is, effectively just acting as a civil court. But I think we hear what you're saying about wanting to maybe step this up, and we'll do that.
Yeah, I mean, like in committee, we see all these coming through. It's just the perception in the community is that we're letting the town kind of.
And ultimately, I just want to add, we just want compliance. I mean, we just want the clean lights. We don't want to go the fun route. We use court as a last resort. We do try to work with them through weather, hardships. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the stories we hear. But in the end, we just want it to be clean and safe. And that's our ultimate goal. And I do think we are making a lot of progress. Attorney Hill helps us tremendously through all the red tape legally. But I think that we will get, results. And hopefully this new statute will help us.
And we get a lot of positive feedback when we do succeed in something.
Yeah.
Maybe y'all aren't getting thanks for getting rid of that house when that's happened. Maybe you just get the bad complaints.
Yeah, that comes with the territory. But
And let me say this, something that Attorney Hill said earlier, the number have increased going to the courts. They're significantly higher than they were maybe 2 years ago. So maybe that's probably why it seemed to be, but same resources, but we're sending them in. I was looking at the log that I get from Teresa and earlier from Jill, but from what we were doing 2 years ago, it's just a lot more going to the courts.
We do have 2 cases coming up in September. One's for excessive debris and one's for inoperable vehicles. So we are continuing on with that process. And a positive note, we've got a minor plat that's getting ready to go through planning commission that's realigning some property lines, and that plan is to build 4 duplexes.
Yes.
So there's going to be some new development in that neighborhood, which hopefully will be a domino to, help with other property maintenance issues and stuff. So there are some positive things happening as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely a success story that gets a lot that was dilapidated, onto the tax rolls for actually bringing the community or bringing that neighborhood up. So, yeah, I appreciate that.
And that particular property ultimately sold in the tax sale, but our fingerprints were all over that one. So.
Is there any more questions on those processes? Just quickly wanted to mention two things for department report. Today's big day, election day. But just as a reminder, candidates that did run in the August 6th election will need to have all signs removed 5 days after the election ends. So on the 12th, then we'll begin the next process. We're in the process of preparing sign packets for candidates running in the November election. And as soon as the election commission gets past this election, they'll get an official candidate list over for those. We will be sending out packets with the sign regulations, and they are permitted to start placing signs 60 days prior to early voting, which will be August the 15th. So we'll have a couple of days to get the old signs away, and then the new signs will be starting to pop up. And then just also wanted to mention, we did get all of the ordinances passed in July for the new codes, but all of our paperwork has been updated. Any new permits have went through the permit application process for the 2024 codes, and all of the paperwork has been updated on the website, and we are actively using the new permit fee schedule. And that's my report.
Jonathan.
Morning, Board. I was gonna start my update under the computing and daily networking needs of the city. I wanted to report on 4 computers that I have replaced throughout the city. Those were the computers for our finance director, property maintenance inspector, public works director, and head mechanic. These were computers that were purchased prior to me being in this position. I was finally able to just set them up and get them with all the information for each department transferred. Next on the update, I have installed a new server in the police department. This server is essential for our local users and computers. It has also been set up to replicate with our server in the municipal building to help keep our network redundant as well. This server was one that was purchased also prior to me being in this position. I was finally able to get it configured and physically moved over to the police department. Next thing on my update, following the replacement of our municipal building firewalls last month to a Cisco Meraki MX75, I've made the decision to replace all the firewalls across the city to the same kind. This will help update our older firewalls, which are FortiGate brands throughout the city, to Cisco ones, and also help reduce cost since the Cisco firewalls for their support cost a lot less. Overall, this will be better for the management of each department and to help keep them secure. I've also provided you guys with a project plan that you can see on your iPads that goes into detail as to where each firewall is going to be replaced and at what time. I hope to get this completed by this month and have you guys an update for the next month as well. Is there any questions?
Sorry, I forgot to ask in committee. Is C-Spire doing this? Or
Yes,
are you
they're
doing
helping
this?
with that, yes. That's who is providing the support for it. If there's no more questions, that is my update. Thank you, guys.
Moving on to finance, Mr. Owens.
Good morning, Board. Just to start the finance report, on item number 1, you will see amendment number 15. And in that amendment, you will see that's the closeout amendment for the 25-26 budget. So we're asking you to approve that. And do you have any questions on that one? So number 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about 5. You heard pretty much through department report, but we're looking for the garbage truck rental opportunity to purchase it. And I think we discussed using sanitation general funds for that purpose. Let's see, can we move that ahead? Any more questions?
We're gonna move ahead with option 2.
Okay. Also, number 3, you heard from Chief Davey, and that's for the generator for purchase for station number 2. We're looking, and that will come out of general funds. Any questions on that particular one?
To go back on that, we're doing option 1 and 2, right, on that garbage truck. We're doing the dozer's not included in this, though. It's just the garbage truck. Okay, I thought the first one might have been the dozer. I thought, go ahead. I'm good.
And number 4, we talked about the pellet permit, with all of the guidelines you gave, for Debbie, I think it was about 5 or 6. We're good with moving that ahead. And there would be a 200, I think we said, permit.
I'll have to go back and look at it, but
Yeah.
yes, we
I've
have
got
it.
it, I'll take it.
Okay.
Number 5, we were mentioning, and Natalia and Debbie helped to do a solicitation, not solicitation, but a meeting with the local banks. We did hear from 3 local banks, one which is a question. They had a deadline of August 4th to get their bids in. The bid, they gave us the best rates were 3.35, and that was BB and T. Is that right?
CB&S?
Yes, CBNS, I'm sorry. My left is.
I was like, I know there's a BB&T in town.
Just came in to
Where is
say.
that?
I was like, you better watch out, there's a new one in town.
That's in Birmingham.
That's a rep group. Yeah.
what was that?
3.35, do was
Okay.
their quote. And
Is that where the current CD was, or was that First Commerce?
so we do have one located there. But we do have one from First Commerce. They also responded at 3.15. So we've been using, both things. But for this one, they came in at the highest.
So are we gonna,
6 months. For 6 months.
are we gonna take that one to the board, or, Tuesday, or are we?
I think we should, just based on, because they'll change if we don't move quickly.
I'm good with the highest rate.
Yep.
And as far as the director's report, for the month of July, we had, $351,198 in sales tax. Last year, this time, it was $337,087, which is a 4.19 increase over last year. The state share sales tax for the month of July was $80,809. Last year, this time, it was $78,112. That represents 3.5 increase. And of course, our occupancy tax is a decrease. It was $8,953. Last year, this time, it was $18,337, which is a 51.2% decrease. One of the things that Natalia and I did meet a long time on Sunday, and she did encourage me to try to see can we get the the taxes from Hampton, which would improve a number of ideas in the email. As of yet, we have not heard anything, but we're still hopeful to get that. So if we hear anything between now and Monday, that may change, but not too encouraged that it will. In other news,
Sorry, on occupancy tax, you said received in July, 8,000?
$8,953.
We actually did receive some from Hampton
We did.
recently, and she sent an updated yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because it shows 11,000, so I just want to make sure
Yeah.
it is
Well, I
11,000.
apologize. Yeah, that's good
Okay.
news. Okay. As far as other news, we are in the process of interviewing. We started interviewing on Tuesday, and we have had some pretty good applicants, so we're doing that. Hopefully, by the end of the month, we will be able to recommend a candidate for the position. In the interim, we do have Debbie, as well as Candace and myself, which have divided functions of the Department of Finance. So we're working everything out. We still have the ear of Natalia, who's been very gracious to answer all the calls right now, so we're still working that through at the present time. Any other questions for finance at the present time? Okay, great. So as far as the city administrator report, we have a lot of things that are continuing from the last month. You probably saw my report as far as upcoming meetings. If anybody needs any agenda items, for those, I am preparing agendas as we do, but we have probably about 15 meetings scheduled between now and the next time we come together for committee. A couple of things that were not on there. Deb is working with the downtown improvement grant. We have a big procurement that we need to get finalized before we all come together again. Johnny and I, we have been talking about the new rule from the Open Meeting Act, public comments. We need to get something to the board as far as changing our ordinance so we can be in compliance to those new rules. And just open to any other questions that you may have at this time.
I appreciate your weekly emails about the ongoing meetings.
Thank you. I'll keep it
Absolutely.
correct.
No news from the county on our animals.
Well, that's one of the meetings, but we do have a meeting scheduled on the 12th. We have actually two meetings with the county. So that's the 12th as well as the week afterwards. We were waiting for, this county election to get over as well as, Commander Andy is on vacation, so that will be done at, 1 o'clock on Wednesday. If y'all have any comments, just send it to us.
Any other questions?
All right, we have two board appointments that the mayor would like to reappoint Dean Bevels to the Board of, Property Appeals, term to expire 7/1/31, and to reappoint Veronica King to the FPU Board, term expires 6/30/29. Moving forward. And that concludes our business, and